I've just grabbed my basket and I'm headed outside because I need to grab a few things for tonight's dinner. And I thought I'd bring you along with me and answer a question I get a fair bit, which is about what do we eat out of our garden during the winter. So yeah, let's go do a bit of a winter garden tour with a bit of a food focus. G'day there, it's Rachel here from Bush Edge Homesteading Australia. We're going to go for a bit of a wander around the garden and we're going to pick a few things for dinner. I'm thinking tonight I'm going to do, well, often I'm influenced by what we find in the garden, but at the moment I'm thinking like a savoury mince for dinner because I know there's a few things that we're growing at the moment that'll be perfect to put in a savoury mince. But really what I want to do is answer the question today on whether we can eat from the gardens and property during this time of the year. I'm going to answer the question right now because the answer is actually no. I think if we didn't work full time and had a lot more time to spend in the garden, we would definitely be able to eat a lot more produce out of the property. But at this time of the year, we do find that it's a lot more work to get less produce. There's certain things that do really well, and we'll have a bit of a look at some of those. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we just don't have access to at this time of the year because it is so cold here in the Dandenong Ranges in Victoria as well. So there's a lot of the summer stuff that we don't normally grow, although we've had a really weird season. So there is actually a couple of summery things that I picked even in this past week that's kind of unusual, things like capsicums. And there is a couple of last bits and bobs of some summery stuff still in the greenhouse because it's been such a really warm winter. But yeah, during this time of the year, during winter, things do definitely get a little bit leaner, and that's when we normally dive into a lot more of the things that we have inside preserved. You know, things like the beans that we put up during the summertime, things that we've got in jars like our tomato products that we had then. But yeah, there's definitely less variety in the garden at this period of time. Alrighty, I reckon that's enough chattering from me. Let's go for a bit of a wander. I'll show you what we are actually picking at the moment, and yeah, I'll talk a little bit about what we picked during the week too. Before we head down into the garden, I thought I'd actually just give you a bit of an overview over the orchard area here. And you can probably see one of the reasons that things are quite lean is just at this time of the year, there's no fruit on pretty much all of our fruit trees. The exception is our citrus. So that there is, it's one of our lime trees. We have been picking lots of limes and doing lots of things with them, but we are getting to the point now where the limes are starting to get few and far between. And you probably noticed they look quite yellow at the moment. That's because they are getting to the end. They turn yellow, they drop off, and yeah, we definitely won't be having limes too much longer. There is plenty of lemons here. Whenever we need one, we can just pop outside, grab them off the tree. Handy in drinks, handy, you know, if you're having fish and stuff like that. I really wish that we had all of these lemons at the same time as the chickens were laying heaps and heaps of eggs, because this would be incredible for making lemon curd when we have so many, but yeah, they never seem to come on at the same time. Up here in our bee area, there's a couple of new citrus trees that we planted, it was probably about 3 years ago now, so these ones are quite young. This one here is a mandarin. Now, our other main mandarin tree, that is completely finished. That one's a satsuma. This one here is a later variety. This one's much later than the other. And I was hoping the tag said what it was. Oh gosh, I can't actually remember what this one is, but this is actually going to be really handy because it's going to extend the season, because the one out the front is completely done. That's the one that I used when I showed you things like pureeing mandarins, using them for mandarin muffins, and also doing the mandarin blender jam, because the one out the front has no seeds. That one there, I'm not sure about. So that will be revealed once they are actually ripe and we get to eat the first ones. Now this tree here is an orange. And for the very first time, we got oranges off of it this year. This little tree decided to produce 4, so that was really cool, because 4 in the family meant we all got a bit of a taste of the first oranges off the tree. Alrighty, it was good to go and have a bit of a look at what the citrus is doing, but that is not going to fill our basket for dinner. So So what we'll do is we'll head down here, where I do know there is a couple of goodies that I want. Oh, scaring the ducks. Actually, you can probably see there's quite a few beds that are completely bare at the moment, and that's because we've been doing a lot of work on the soil. That's just to start readying them for spring planting. This bed here, this is the one that's going to give us some food for this evening. The first plants here, they've not started producing yet. Those ones are our broad beans. They're starting to flower, but they're not at the point of actually producing any pods yet. That's pretty normal. I often find like you're waiting and waiting when it comes to the broad beans, and then all of a sudden you just have an overabundance of them. This in here is what I'm going for. Broccoli. These are a sprouting broccoli variety that we're growing, and they are super duper abundant at the moment. Like, I've been picking so many of these, and as you can see, I can pick a whole bunch more of them for dinner, so that's what I'm going to do now. There are so many in this bed. Coming around here, you can see there's like even more of them. There's so many. Ooh. And I'm starting to get a little collie as well. Awesome. Although that one there looks like it's not forming a good head, but yeah, there's a couple in there. That's awesome. I didn't realise they were so far advanced, which is why I'm surprised they're hiding on this side. There's a couple of other things that are hiding on this side as well. Obviously a lot more broccoli, and these ones here, I really do need to pick those. In fact, I'll grab those before we head into, because you can see they're starting to open up at the top. They won't be good for too much longer, so I do need to pick those. But the other things in here are these carrots. So there's a whole bunch of really good carrots down here, and I have been picking a whole bunch of those from this area. The other thing that's in here is a whole bunch of silver beet as well. They add a bit of beautiful colour in the garden, but we've been eating them just as a lot of greens. They're really good in, well, actually they're going to be amazing in tonight's dinner. Will I grab these? No, I've got another spot. I'll grab them from another spot that I'll show you in a minute, where there's some even bigger ones. But they're really good in things like the savoury mince that we're going to have tonight. You can put them in stews and stuff. You can just fry them up in the fry pan, bit of butter and garlic. It's beautiful as a side. Yeah, you can eat them in lots of different ways. Definitely probably one of those underrated greens, and they do look beautiful in the garden. Actually, will I pick one of the carrots down here? That one there looks really big. Let's just grab one out from here, and then I'll show you another spot where I've got some carrots as well. Oh, I got a little one out. That's all right. But that's what I was actually going for. Look at that. Isn't that magnificent? Beautiful carrots. It's really good, nice soft soil. And the carrots is something that we're eating a fair bit of from the garden at the moment. In fact, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is pick a whole bunch of these, because I have an abundance here. And as I said, I've been picking a lot. Like, I've been trying to pick just to even thin this area out. I've also got a whole bunch in the hydroponic planter, and we'll grab some of those out as well. And I'm going to use some of those in dinner. But given the abundance I have at the moment, I'm thinking I might do some carrot cake, either some carrot cake muffins, or there's this really nice carrot cake that I do where it's kind of like a cheesecake and a carrot cake had a baby. And oh my gosh, this thing is absolutely incredible. You do like the base with like a carrot cake, and then the top is cheesecake. So given the abundance of carrots, I might do that as well. But anyway, I'm just going to grab this one from here because the other ones we will grab from up the top. But yeah, that's definitely another thing that we're eating at the moment from our winter garden. So many. I'm not going to pick any of this today, but the rhubarb is growing incredibly. Check that out. So yeah, apple and rhubarb, that is something that's definitely on the horizon soon. This is the new one that we planted together, so I haven't actually cut it back because I was trying to get some really good growth on it to start. But now that it's looking this good, I definitely reckon I can start harvesting some, and I'm hoping this one's not going to be as astringent as the previous one that I was growing that we pulled out. Because I do love rhubarb, but there's a certain level that they can get to where it's almost like they're taking the enamel off of your teeth, and that is not what I want. But yeah, that's a bit of winter eating right there too. Now those ones there are potatoes. I probably could dig up potatoes if I wanted to, but I'm going to let those go. Oh, this is so cool. I had somebody share this week that they were starting to see some asparagus tips popping up. That is a sign of spring on its way right there. That is our first asparagus tip. Is that the only one? So that bed there, that's all asparagus as well. And so's this one. I don't know that I'm seeing any other ones. Oh, but that is cool. So that means we're going to be eating asparagus in probably a couple of weeks' time. Like, once you start seeing them popping up like that, before you know it, you really do have to watch, because you'll have a whole abundance of little asparagus spears. How cool. What else have we got? So over here, this is where our cabbages are. These ones are all completely done. I've pulled all of those out now. But what I am eating out of here is kale. And kale's actually a really good one as well to have in our savoury mince. So I might grab a few leaves off this one today too. I'm absolutely loving these veggie pod, what do they call them? Veggie bags or something, I think it's called. There's like not a single bug on any of these. And all I do is I just keep coming in here and just keep ripping largely from the bottom. And then they just keep growing. There we go, so a bit of kale. You're probably starting to notice we get a bit of an abundance of greens at this time of year. That's the one thing that does tend to be fairly prolific during the winter time. But yeah, this one here, this has the mini cabbages that we planted together way back in autumn. But yeah, they do grow fairly slowly at this time of year, so they're only really just starting to head up now. Definitely not ready for eating yet. What I have been eating though is these guys over here, and that is my snow peas. I did do a big pick of those yesterday though. So I can see, looks like there's a couple on there. But honestly, there's not going to be too many because I did just do that big pick and we had some yesterday. But yeah, they're another really good one at this time of year. One of the few things that does actually produce really well. And you also get some beautiful flowers on them as well. They're kind of one of those things that adds a bit of beauty in the garden, but also feeds you. Oh, these are edible too. So the tips, if you do want to pick off the tips and also eat that. In fact, I'm just going to snack on that now. As we're walking around, there's often things that don't make their way back inside. Below our snow peas here, there is something else we've been eating a fair bit of. And I'm not going to grab a lot of it, but I might just grab one stalk. That is our celery. It's another good one just for picking straight out of the garden and having a munch while you're out here. But it's also really good in a lot of our winter stews. That's what we use it a lot for at this time of the year. Now you probably just saw, again, all I did is I picked part of the plant and I've left it. And it just keeps on growing and growing. So I think in my first few years, I made the mistake of just picking the whole celery plant when they got abundant like this. But yeah, this way it's more of like a perpetual sort of plant until the point that it goes to seed. Now, in terms of going to seed, actually, let me just pop that in the basket. In terms of it going to seed, probably notice I need to do a bit of weeding in here. But there's also a lot of celery, so that's like little celery, and I think I saw there was some parsley as well. With these, they tend to self-seed and then they just keep on coming through, and I let them come through. There's a whole bunch over here too. So some things are weeds, like that I need to pull. But yeah, ones like that, that's just another celery plant coming through. So those ones I'll probably pull some out because I'm going to need more room for our veggies once we get into spring planting. But some of these will be retained and they just become the next plants in here. Over here I've got a few spring onions. I've been keeping a close eye on those because I've been wanting to make sure I don't end up with the rust that we had with the garlic, because the garlic where we had rust issues, that was all just over here. So far so good, and you can see I've already picked a lot of this line out that we've been growing. The calendula here is something that just self-sowed, and I'm just letting it grow for a little bit of beauty in the garden. Now, parsley is something that we don't have a shortage of, which is handy because in our family we actually pick a lot of parsley and we eat it like a vegetable. Hubby does this amazing bean salad and the greens in it is actually parsley. I am going to grab some of that. That's also going to go in our savoury mince for tonight too. Now, there's not a lot else going on in this bed here. This is where we lifted the dahlias from. I need to do a bit of work improving the soil around it. I haven't really started doing a lot of that work in this particular one yet. I have been focusing largely on this bed here and the ones that we saw at the start. Like at this time of the year, it might be that we're getting fed a little bit less, but a lot of the time spent is actually on feeding the soil, rather than taking things out of it, because we do tend to take a lot out of it in the summertime. Now this soil here, speaking of feeding soil, these plants are just, they are struggling. These are the ones that we planted together back in autumn planting. These carrot seeds, for example, were planted at the same time as the other ones that we saw. But this soil is so poor. They've just been doing absolutely terribly. If I pull one of those out, look at that compared to that other carrot that we saw. And it just goes to show the importance of good soil. I'm not even going to bother taking that inside. I'll just toss that one, let it become part of the soil again. And these ones here, these are all the, what were they? They were the, I'm having a brain fart. They are the beetroot. There we go, we got there eventually. And again, there's just nothing happening with these. Like, I really should be picking beetroot right now, but yeah, they just, I don't know. This soil is just terrible, so I just need to keep doing work on the soil and hopefully I can get it right for spring planting. Now in here, we have an area of succession planting that I've been doing. So I showed you back over that way. That's our first lot of snow peas that I planted. If I come back over here, this is the second lot that I planted, and I planted this really in the depths of winter when I would not normally plant stuff, but we had a really, really warm winter and I thought, I've got seeds, why not have a crack at just planting a few more? And they are growing, and they're actually growing really well, surprisingly. I'm thinking I'm going to get a good second lot of snow peas this year, which is great, but they are not producing yet. I need to do a little bit of work to train them. One thing that is self-seeding around the place, and we have been picking a bit of, is, no, not the weed, these guys here. So there's a whole bunch of lettuces, I'm not sure what the plural is. yeah, they have been popping up through the garden because I let a lot of our lettuce self-seed. And that just means when I'm weeding, I can come along and pick those, and that just goes into dinner. There's another self-seeded celery there. And over the back here, that is all green feast peas, and at the base of those peas we've got a whole bunch of garlic. That garlic there, out of all of our garlic, is probably struggling more than the garlic I've got in the other areas. Not ready for picking yet, but yeah, I'm just kind of keeping a bit of an eye on that, but hopefully that's a bit of future food. I am starting to see a little bit of rust in this area, which is really, really sad. The other areas that we planted together, I haven't seen any sign of it yet, but yeah, maybe I just planted too close to where we had the issues last year. And that was probably silly me, but I was struggling to find places to plant, which probably seems a little bit weird now given how many areas that you just saw are bare. But when I planted those, we had plants everywhere still. So yeah, I was trying to sneak in spots for the garlic, and that meant I've probably encroached a little bit too close to where we had the issues last year with the rust. I am hoping the other areas are going to be fine, and I'm hoping these ones here, I will actually still get some decent bulbs off, but if they start to look too bad, I'll just pull them. With our peas here, you can see that there is peas absolutely everywhere on these, but they haven't got to the stage yet where they've really started filling out. So I did pick a couple just to eat them like this. I'm a bit of a person that's not a big fan of chewy kind of textural type things, so I did find that with this variety of peas I wasn't a huge fan of the texture, so I'm just going to let the peas inside fill out. Yeah, but I reckon we're going to get quite a bit of abundance off these, and of course you can eat these the way they are. It's just purely me that's a little bit funny about how tough they are. The rest of the family, they actually like them quite fine like this. Okay, let's grab our basket. Do you think Cooper's telling me to throw? Alrighty, Coops. He's not going to stop now. Alright, let's have a look in the greenhouse, because that's the next spot that there is still a few things that we're picking at the moment. Now in here we have still chilies being picked, and there's actually quite a few. Like normally these plants are not looking as healthy as this at this time of the year. Yeah, again, it's been a really warm winter. Even in the greenhouse, we do tend to have these die back a lot. I normally have to cut them right back because they start looking really poorly, but that has just not happened this year. Hubby's pineapple. If you've seen previous shares on the pineapple, you'll understand I have a relationship with the pineapple. But anyway, if it's anything like the other one he grew, it'll take a decade before we are actually eating something off that one. So that's not eating right now. Capsicums. Now, oh, do we have any capsicums left? I don't think so. I picked a whole bunch of capsicums this week out of this area. I'll pop a picture of the bowl full. I was absolutely shocked that we were still picking capsicums at this time of year here. It is not normal. Yeah, it's such an unusual year. I also picked a whole bunch of these ones here, which are the Big Jim chilies. Although the ones that are growing at the moment are more Little Jim than Big Jim, but some of these, when they're in season, ugh, I was just touching a gross one, wasn't I? Let's get rid of that. Yeah, some of them, when they're in season, they are huge. You can get to, I think it's like 30 centimetres with some of those. So yeah, that is another thing that we are eating. And in fact, I'm going to grab a couple because we love chili in meals. So it'd be good to actually have a few chilies in our dinner tonight. Now, there's a couple of other things that I've also been eating from in here, but are gone now. I had a big pot like this. It was full of sweet potato, and just the other day I emptied out all the soil that was in that pot and picked all those sweet potatoes. So I've got a few more sweet potatoes in the house now, which is awesome. So we are still also eating sweet potatoes. Actually, the other thing that we have inside at the moment too is pumpkins. So we're obviously not picking the pumpkins at the moment, but back in summer autumn, when we did the pick, we put a whole bunch of those in the study, and that means that you've got what is essentially fresh pumpkins to eat during this time of the year as well. I just wanted to show you what's going on in this pot here. So this one here is the ginger that we were growing in the greenhouse. It has all died back now, and there is some ginger in there pretty much ready for the picking. So I do need to get stuck into this. I'm not going to do that right now, but yeah, that's definitely another thing that we can now eat from our winter garden. Behind the ginger is more sweet potato. This is the bed that I've shared with you guys kind of year on year now, where I've been growing sweet potatoes in here for probably, gosh, it must be a good decade or so. That little bed there has pretty much always been dedicated to sweet potatoes, and we just pull so many out year after year. It loves it in the greenhouse. But yeah, I haven't pulled that this year, and that's because we did grow so many in the outside beds. I'll throw in a little bit of footage of some from the outside spots that we picked. I was a little bit sad though, the purples didn't do so well. In fact, there was one variety where we didn't even really get a sweet potato, so I don't know if that's going to be a good variety for us moving forward. But definitely the other variety that we tried, we got quite a few off that. And that was a fun day and activity with the boys. And what we did is we actually grabbed what we now have here, and we have what I'm hoping will be the sweet potatoes that we're going to plant for next year. I also have a whole bunch of cuttings going here as well. You can see in the bottom, they're rooting. Now, normally I do the cuttings inside, and that's been quite successful, but the cat decided they were delicious this year, so that's why they're out here. Here, actually, I don't need to go too much further for the next thing I want to show you. And that is the silver beet here, and also some more of the self-seeded lettuce. There's also a few onions in here as well, but what I need for today is silver beet. You can probably see why I decided to come over here instead of picking the other silver beet, because these ones here are humongous. Now all I do is I just break off individual ones. You can see at the bottom where I've been breaking off other ones, and yeah, that there is a great leaf of silver beet, but I will grab a couple because they do break down a fair bit once you start cooking them. Grab a red one, maybe a couple of red ones as well. And again, just, you know, we don't have to pull the whole plant. You can see all these other ones where I've pulled off leaves at previous times, and the plant just keeps on growing. The last thing I want to show you over here is in the hydroponic planters, some of these carrots. Now we've been picking a lot out of here, and what's interesting is there's a whole bunch of new ones just starting to grow as well. But I do need to pull them out because once they get really, really deep, in fact, I've had some that have been the full height of this, what happens is they start to curve around at the bottom. So picking some of those is a necessity before they get too big. The other thing that's still doing quite well in here is lettuce. Even though we're at the very end of winter, those lettuce are growing absolutely wonderfully in here. All right, I need to put this down so I can jump in and grab the carrots. Oh, actually, hang on. Can I find a spot to show you? Let's see. Oh, maybe I can do this with one hand. Ooh. There we go. See the end? See how it's bent? That's what I was talking about, how they start to bend when they hit the bottom, because they are so big. That's another really good carrot. just going to grab a couple more of those. Oh my goodness. I love this setup. It's so good. All right, there's one very last thing I'm going to grab while I'm here, and that is some of this spring onion. I'm going to grab, I think, the whole one of these. No, actually, I might grab two, because there's a lot of smaller ones coming through in here. Oh, hopefully without ripping it all out. All right, I'm going to need to pop you down for a second. Nice. Well, that there is our basket of goodies. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that over there and we'll lay out everything that we've got so we can have a bit of a look at what we're going to be eating tonight from our winter garden. So this here is all the goodies we've ended up with for dinner tonight. A whole bunch of carrots. Now, they're not all absolutely perfect. There was some that were absolutely awesome, but there's one like this one here that's split, and there's a little bit of green on the bottom of that one, but they are perfectly good eating and a really, really good size, so I'm still happy with that. Those ones I'll probably just end up grating into the carrot cake. So yeah, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Still good eating. Broccoli. Now, I could have kept picking and picking, and we're going to be continuing to eat heaps of this sprouting broccoli because it is in just such good condition and it's just so prolific at the moment, and it's beautiful to eat while it is in season. Chilies, that'll spice up our savoury mince a bit tonight. Bit of parsley. That's our kale underneath the celery stalk there. Of course, the celery stalk. And what do we have under there? Oh, the onions. So that's the spring onions that I just picked. Nice lot of silver beet. That will cook down an awful lot. So even though it looks like there's a lot of veg there, that is going to cook down. And there's the two different colours of that. Honestly, they taste exactly the same, particularly when you put it in something like a savoury mince or a stew or something like that. Just adds a little bit of green. I don't know, some people get a bit funny about silver beet, which is I think because of the abundance that you can get in the garden, that it's often overlooked in terms of how good it actually is in winter. Hopefully that answers the questions that you might have on whether we can eat from our garden here on the property, here in the Dandenong Ranges in this cool climate during the winter time. The answer, as you saw, it's no, we can't eat everything out of the garden. We definitely go to the shops and supplement, particularly with the more summery veg that might be in season in the northern parts of Australia at the moment, but we definitely can't grow here at the moment. And also for some of those things that we might eat in more abundance than we're actually getting from the garden. But that definitely isn't broccoli at the moment, as you saw. I think we're going to have to start preserving some of that soon, or doing some swaps. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit inspired about some of the things you can grow in a cool climate to feed yourself and your family. And as always, thanks a bunch for joining, and catch you later.